Welcome to the 10th episode of MD's Levrone Report, in the house with my co-host, Ron Harris. Ron, like always, we have another great show coming up, my friend.
Yeah. Don Long is one of those guys that wasn't around very long in the pro ranks. He was excellent, so much potential. And I don't think a lot of the younger viewers really know who he was or how good he was. When you guys are done with this, go Google Don Long on YouTube, on Google Images. You'll get an idea. But, Don was taken out of the sport with an illness and managed to get past all that. You guys are going to talk all about that. It's totally a very inspirational story. And yeah, man, thanks, Kevin. You're picking some amazing guests, I got to say.
Well, I mean, after I heard, of course, I've known Don for so many years. But anyway, Don, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to the 10th episode of MD's Levrone Report. Ron and I are sitting here talking like you're not there, but thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come. Ron, like I was saying, after hearing, Don's story, the man behind the muscle, it just blew me away, and this was like, man, we have to get him on so the world can get to know who this man really is. What he's been through and what he's got going on today and how he made it through his journeys and trials and tribulations and escalades and winnings and just everything, man. So Don, man, welcome. Thank you for being here on the Levrone Report. Glad to have you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, for sure. Glad to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin, before we get into that, I just want to start off with the bodybuilding, the history, because Don had, like I said, this was an era that he competed in that was so tough. He turned pro not too long after you did. And these were the days when there wasn't even a super heavyweight class. Everybody over 198 pounds at a national show, whether you were 200 pounds or 260, you're all in the same class. So that's where we used to see these heavyweight classes back then that were kind of almost like Olympia lineups. So, here's what Don had to go up against. Nationals in 1993, got fourth place in the heavies behind Mike Francois, who also only had a brief career, but was an Arnold Classic champion in that time. Dennis Newman, another one. Wow, what are the coincidences? Taken out of the sport too soon. The potential in that Dennis Newman kid. Oof, I think he could have been Olympia. And Edgar Fletcher, definitely one of the top 3 or 4 people ever to never turn pro. That was just phenomenal. An amateur that was so good. He's better than 85, 90% of all the pros today. And that's no disrespect to the guys today. 1994 comes back to the Nationals. Third place behind Paul Quadzilla DeMeo, another one who had crazy potential. Craig Titus, who in his late amateur and early pro career was excellent. And then 1995, Don comes back and wins the heavyweight and overall convincingly. And pro career, it was a little longer than I'm indicating, but geez, the first show he ever did was a tough one. How tough? 1996, Night of Champions, he got third place. Third place doesn't sound that great, right? Who were the top 2? Flex Wheeler and Ronnie Coleman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, that was his pro debut, and the potential we saw with this man, we all knew in our hearts he was going to be around we were hoping he was going to be around for a long time, and he was going to go on to be one of the top guys, if not an Arnold and Olympia champion, certainly fighting very, very closely for those titles.
Ron, go ahead. You were talking about his accolades.
Yeah, I was just saying, Don Long was one of those guys, like I said, turned pro in an incredibly competitive era, made his pro debut in an era when the pro shows back then, they really, guys will say stacked these days. That word gets overused because if you compare it to the lineups back then, the 90s they were insane. And to make such a strong statement straight out of the gates, it showed you this was a guy that was going to be fighting for the very, very top titles. And I know in my heart, if he had stayed healthy, he would have been, if not Arnold champion, Mr. Olympia, he would have been right up there, like second place, third place consistently, I believe.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, finishing behind, Ronnie Coleman and you said Jay Cutler, correct?
Oh, Flex Wheeler.
Flex Wheeler. In the 90s, I mean, come on. I mean, you're right there. Look what those guys went and done, right? Yeah. So yeah, no doubt in my mind, that Don was definitely knocking, ready to kick the door down, big time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it in my heart. I mean, I knew what I was capable of. Kind of like what Ron said. I felt in my heart, once again, I was a very disciplined bodybuilder. I was very organized. And I was very dedicated. Just nothing came between me and my goal of trying to be the best in the world. And so with my type of physique, my conditioning, and my capabilities, because once again, I was young in '96, and I just knew I could keep improving. I was known for always improving. And then if things had went where I felt, I still feel I could have been, like he said, fighting for that top spot. You never know until you're there, but I feel like I would be right there knocking at the door on those classics, Olympia.
Well, Don, you certainly were knocking on the door. Let's take us back to Don Long back in Virginia, because I used to hear about you from Fairfax, Hackley down there. You were doing some serious stuff, man. And coming out of Virginia, I don't think anybody else was even close to you down around that area. But take us back to going into. I always want to get into the mindset. What drove you to get into the bodybuilding part of it? When did that light bulb go off? You said, you know what, this is what I want to do, and I want to turn pro.
Well, I was a dancer, because before that I did all kinds of jobs. You can name it, from being a trash man to construction to grocery stores, you name it. I've always worked. But at the time I was doing construction and I started dancing at the same time. This is when I'm only 19 years old. I moved from North Carolina to the DC area. And then initially I just moved to DC. And so, but then once again, so I was always had good genetics, but I was very small. By the time I was an adult, I probably was 170 pounds, 172 pounds. And then, once I moved up there, so I met some people and I became a dancer. Some people say, oh, you should try dancing. Me and my partner, we always kind of wanted to do it. We ran into the right people, so I became a dancer, a stripper, and so I did that for literally 8 years. But in the time of being a dancer, you run into people that are competing or doing best chest contests and things like that. So I started doing best body on the beach contests, best chest contests. And once again, when you go to those type of competitions, you run into people that actually are bodybuilders also. And so then the people say, well, you should give this a try. You should get bodybuilding try. You great genetics, still small, but great genetics. And then, so that's what made me go to my first show. And then I went to my first show. Of course, I liked it. Of course, I used to see, the guys, just because you when I came in and started '89, you weren't around yet. I mean, you were around, but you were probably coming in. But when I first started training, it was Sean Ray and, Lee Haney, of course. And of course, the people like that, Dorian, as he was coming in, Malcolm Aubrey, you name the top guys. I was watching those guys. Okay. I feel like I looked kind of like Sean. I didn't realize how short he was, but I feel like I had a shape. He had a great shape. He was one, I wasn't really built necessarily like Lee Haney, but I was kind of more similar to a Sean Ray. But, and so those became my idols. And then, of course, as I'm coming closer to actually competing, because I started working out in '89, and in '91, I decided to do my first show. But this is when you had won, and you're right there in Maryland. But before that, I already seen you in the clubs and stuff like that. And once again, when you see someone like you just couldn't believe how big, And I think you're probably, once again, you're about 270 probably at the time, because that was the number in my head. Okay, he's 270. Okay, that's where I got to get to. But anyway, you would see you in the clubs. You had the ponytail. At this time. And of course, you were the inspiration for everybody in that area. That was and then once you made it, once you won in '91, I'm like, wow. And then of course, then you went to the Olympia. And so that became my idol right there. He's right there close, and of course, he's built like crazy. And I feel like I can achieve that. And then, of course, I met you at one of my last shows before I went to the Junior Nationals. So this is in '91 in Maryland. Probably, I don't know whose show it might have been, but you probably know. But then again, Papoose was there. You were friends with Papoose.
Ivory Turner. Yeah,
Ivory Turner. Yeah. So we were dance partners. We used to dance together. So anyway, Ivory came to that show that I competed at, and Kevin came to that show. He had just did the Olympia, because this show was maybe in like November or December, and he had just came off of second place at the Olympia. Zach, because you did the Olympia in '92, right?
Yes.
Your first one. So you had just came off your you just came off your national champion win in October, September, and this show was in December. And then because this was in 91. And we met right there real briefly. He introduced me to you. And then, so once again, that was part of my motivation is Kevin's right down the road and it can be done. You don't have to move to California to do it because you didn't do it. And that was one of my main reasons I didn't move to California, because you never did, you know. And I said, okay, if he don't have to move, because I used to live in California when I was younger, and I didn't, you know, it was just too far away from everything I knew. So I never really wanted to go back to live anyway. And then, so that was part of my inspiration. And of course, then one thing led to another. I became better and better. I started dedicating. Once I did the first year, I said, I can do this. And I did that pretty much all natural. And then once I feel like, okay, I can do this. I think I can take it all the way, so to speak. And so I really just dedicated everything to it after that point, getting ready for the junior nationals in 92. And then, and so I had a good look there. I placed top 5 as a light heavyweight, which was still good being how tall I was. And my condition was really on point. I just knew I had to get bigger. So after that year, I made some really, you know, good decisions and say, okay, this is what I got to do. I got to eat. I got to get my body weight up, you know. So I was 224 in the off season going into that juniors. And so I said, all year, I'm just going to eat, train hard, train heavy. And next thing you know, I was up to about 270, getting ready for my first nationals, you know. And so I picked up literally 30 pounds of stage weight in a year, you know. So coming into the 93 nationals, I was 224, you know. And once again, you know, it was a lot of investment, a lot of, you know, money that went into as far as food and things like that. But it was worth it once I got that 4th place finish behind all those guys, you know. And then I knew I had a future at it, you know. And then, and of course, coming back to the next year, I wanted to win the next year, going against Paul and Craig. But at the same time, I knew my body wasn't even though I was good, I was very good. I was cut, you know, you name it. But I wouldn't have been ready to step in there against you guys on that year, you know. So, so I didn't win that year. But the next year, I knew I was ready. I knew I had the tools to be able to be compared, you know, to compete with the pros at that point. And so I won that 94. You were there at the 95 nationals. You were there. I don't know. And so, like you said, you saw me on stage. I was kind of posing kind of funny. You came backstage, corrected some of my posing, and I won that show, you know. So that's that. You might not remember some of the things, but I do. But anyway. And
Kevin,
so,
do you remember that, Kevin?
Vaguely. I remember how big he was.
Yeah. Don, you 92, you were a light heavyweight. What'd you end up weighing? So you're 194. 195. What'd you weigh when you turned pro in 95?
245.
Wow.
Yeah, 245. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
dedication.
And then by the time my pros at 90 champions, I was probably about 252. So I picked up another 7. So I always picked up really good weight, man. You know. But I was, once again, I mean, I never missed meals. I ate a ton of food, and believe it or not, my supplement level was very moderate because I really relied on food. Not that I didn't take any, but I met a doctor early on saying, look, you don't need a lot. You just need the food, you know, eat, and go and step by step on the other things. So that's the rule I went by. And then it paid off as far as, you know, me gaining the size and things like that. And, you know, because I was just very dedicated with the training, never missed a day in the gym, never missed a meal, never had cheat meals. I never had cheat meals until probably after the Night of Champions. From starting from 91 on, I never had a cheat meal at all, you know. So,
Don, you must have been a lot more disciplined than I was, certainly. But listen, let's talk about in the gym. I mean, we know that process. Obviously, you had that discipline. So what was going on in the gym? Like, take our audience through a Don Long workout, because that's one thing that I wanted to know about your approach in the gym. You know, was it a 3-on 1-off? Did you do train all your push muscles together? Was it push pull, or did you train 7 days a week, or, you know, what was your approach in the gym?
Yeah, so my career started off to where, of course, it started off just doing some of everything. This is before I knew about training, but when you get into actually learning how to train, before that, I used to just train like 3 or 4 body parts a day, and before I even competed. But getting back to where I actually, okay, now I'm a bodybuilder. This is how I train. I start off doing each body part twice a week. I'll have one day off, which will always be Sunday. I never took, my only day off was always Sunday. But anyway, so in the beginning, it would be training chest, bis, and tries on Monday, quads and hams on Tuesday, and then back and shoulders on Wednesday, and then I'll repeat on Thursday. And that's how I start off. But I found that, you know, that wasn't really allowing me to progress as much. And so then I with research and reading, I started going one body part of the day. And then I started doing, chest on Mondays, quads on Tuesdays, bis and tris on Wednesday, shoulders on Thursdays, hamstrings by themselves on Friday, which allowed me to gain better size on my hamstrings. And then and back was always on Saturday. And then of course I had a thing what you call touch-up training. I created to where you work on weak body parts. After every training session, I would train. So for say I want my shoulders bigger, I want my back bigger. Every day after any body part that I'm training, except for the touch-up body part, I would train some type of back movement every single day, some type of side laterals every single day, 4 sets, and it would be every day. But I did that with a lot of different body parts, but sometimes I would pick 2 at a time to go through. And that's what allowed, say, my back to get better, my quads to get bigger, my hams to get bigger. And it was touch-up training, something I created just from, being, understand that I need to bring up weak body parts. How could I do it fast? Before I even got into bodybuilding, I used to do dumbbell curls every single day, just every day before I leave the house, 4 or 5 sets, but no training in the gym, just had a set at home. But my arms grew because of that. And if you look at, say, a military guy, they go in the Marines, they do push-ups every day, they come out with a big chest. And so I use that philosophy thinking that I can train a one body part, just hit it on a regular basis and it will grow. And it worked. So it really helped me develop my body in a good way. But my training philosophy was simply going very heavy, but also keeping volume. So the less reps I would go will probably be 8. And the most, I won't say the most, but my standard was 20, 16, 12, 10, 8, like that, and that was my rep range, but always heavy. I squat, 7 plates on each side for 8 reps. I bench, 500 for 8 reps, so,
wow.
Always,
Ron,
Yeah.
As we're sitting here listening to Don, it's like I'm almost getting tired. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And Ron, a lot of these kids just think that, what? We're talking about bodybuilding in the 90s, and that's what it took. That amount of discipline. Ron, you see that discipline that he have. It's like you can't really learn that. That has to be something like really inside of you.
Yeah.
This guy put on, do the math, over 60 pounds stage weight in 3 years. That is insane. And Don, I'm glad you brought up the touch-up training, because I would have forgotten about it. And that was actually, for a few years, people were talking about it a lot. I used to get people asking me what I thought of it. And I said, it sounds, I've never tried it, so I can't say personally what I think about it, but it sounds like it's an intriguing concept because it goes against the way we take that whole recovery approach. Like if you talk to Dorian Yates about this. So what do you think about Don Long's touch-up training? Do a little bit for every body part. He would have been so against it. I know he would have said there's no way the muscle could recover. It's impossible to improve a muscle that way. But you did.
But I literally built my whole body, my hams. If you look at me in 91, 92 at the juniors, I didn't have hamstrings, and not really in 93. 93. So it was around 93 is when I really started touch-up training, and not including, of course, the thousands of athletes that I've coached, and it literally, so what it does, it's only 4 to 5 sets. That's it. So 4 to 5 sets of heavy side laterals, heavy back movements. And I didn't have a back in it. Even the video I just posted, if you look at it, my back is not that great in 94, and Jim Mannion came to me right then. So it might have been around that time when I started it. He came to me and said, you good, but you got to pick up your back, And so I started doing back every single day, some type of heavy movements, assisted pull-ups or rows or whatever, but something every day. And my back, you come back, say 95 and 96, my back was, pretty good. It wasn't Ronnie Coleman, but it was very compete with most, so,
Don, do you have a military background at all?
No, not at all. But once again, just from a kid, I've always been very disciplined. My father died when I was 17, so you had to become like the man of the house. I started working. I started working since I was 13. But just having good people who saying, pat you on the back, and say, oh, you're working, making your own money. I come from the project, so you had to make your own money if you wanted something nice. I literally dated probably the richest girl in school. My dad was the president of the university, and so I had to fit in with the prep kids, and I didn't have prep kids clothes. So if I was going to have them, I had to buy them myself, And so, because I was an athlete, I hung around athletes, hung around people that were better off than I was. And my mom simply didn't have the money to put me in nice shoes, nice, the stylish clothes, but I bought those things myself. So I had to start working for those things. I bought my own scooter by myself. My grandma co-signed for me, and I paid the whole thing off. So that type of thing, that discipline, and her patting me on the back. My grandma was a big inspiration to pat me on the back. You paid off your whole scooter, Don. He's going to pay his bills. He's going to, so that kind of just made a man out of me and made me motivated. And the discipline. So I would have been a good military guy. I would say that because I was very disciplined. And when it came to bodybuilding, I saw that the weakness with most people was the food. So I looked for the common denominator. We all had great bodies. How can I have one up in some way? And that was trying to be more disciplined, being very, and so I put on a lot of weight by eating a lot of food. Once again, I can count on one hand the amount of times I was missed in the gym. I got married after I went to the gym. So I went to if I had a dentist appointment, it had to be scheduled after the gym, that type of thing, so.
Everything was around your meals, I assume, too. Had to be.
Everything was around the meals, yeah. And when I did get 2 wisdom teeth pulled out, I still didn't miss any meals. I had those Metarex packs, Metarex packs, and I have 2 of those for every meal. So for that couple of days, I had probably about 12 Metarex packs a day, until my mouth healed up. So yeah, I was just very, very disciplined. The epitome of discipline, but. And it wasn't even a bother. I never had cravings after I got used to that. I never had cravings or anything like that. So I just trained myself to just be disciplined like that when it came to food. And nowadays that's why I was telling Kevin the other night, I stay on a pretty good diet always because I'm so used to just eating that way, so.
Yeah,
but I still enjoy fun with my kid or my wife, whatever, when I want to also, yeah.
You're just a special human being, Don. You have this mindset of, it's just straight, even though these things are going on, you're so focused ahead in the tasks and what you need to take on. I wanted to get into, so here you are, you're out there, you're in the pro scenes, dream coming true. You're putting on the sides, you're competing. And, you are now faced with the challenge of your health is being attacked. How did you deal with that, Don? Tell our listeners, what happened and how you dealt with that in the middle and the peak of your career.
Yeah. So, and it was very tough. One, it came out of nowhere for the most part. I was sick for about a couple of weeks and I didn't know why. I had felt like a cold, a flu type, and it just kind of lingered for like 2 weeks until I actually went to the doctor. But I never really got sick a lot. I never, because I always on vitamin C, you name it. So I just never got sick. And and as bodybuilders, we feel like Superman anyway. And once again, I was just so perfect with everything. So I never really got sick. So for me to get sick was kind of odd. And so, I was getting ready. I think I was getting ready for the Arnold's Classics. I was close to getting ready for that. It's because this was coming in towards October is when I was getting sick. And then getting ready to start prepping for the Arnold's shortly after that.
What year was this? What year
this was 1999. Okay. So 3 years after the pro, and I'll get back to a little bit in a minute. But and so all of a sudden, I went to the doctor. I went to my doctor, and then but because my nose was bleeding also at the same time, and I was actually throwing up and things like that. And then he said, well, look, your blood pressure is high, this and that. Probably because you're throwing up, you're sick, so you need to just go to the emergency room. They didn't do labs or nothing, but he said, just go to the emergency room right now, And so when I went to the emergency room, that day they said, okay, here's the news. You did your labs, after what they told me this after the fact that I was born with only one working kidney at birth. And then now the kidney that I do have, and I never knew I only had one kidney, I'll be honest, because I never got a scan on anything like that. There's no really need to get a scan of your kidneys. Nowadays, kids can see right at birth if they're born with one kidney. I have a niece that's born with one kidney also now. But anyway, so he said, you got to go on dialysis today. And I said, there's no way I'm going. I don't even know what dialysis is, I'll be honest, at that point. And I said, there's no way I'm going on no dialysis. I'm not doing that for sure. So I was very sick though. I was retaining water in the whole 9 yards. And then So after about 3 days, he contacted my sister and he told her the whole story. He said, and then my sister called me and said, Don, look, they're serious. They told me everything. You're going to have to go on dialysis. And so I kind of at that point gave in. I went on dialysis, you know, and in hindsight, after 96, you know, because once again, I was coming into after 96, I had another good off season. I was planning on coming into the Arnolds. And this is where I wasn't going to accept anything less than a top 3 at the Arnolds, even though Flex was there, NASA was there. I was going to be in that mix again, you know, with those fighting for that money. I wanted that money at that time in that top spot. But I couldn't, my body just wouldn't, you know, my training was perfect, but I couldn't drop the water like I needed to. And on top of, I think that same year they tested for diuretics that year anyway. So I just had a bad year that year. So I just said, okay, well, I'll go back to drama because I always looked great in the off season, always had great prep. So 98 was the same thing. And then
So
99,
Don,
yeah.
Don, you get this news, you know. What was your state of mind when the doctors told you this, and you know, how did that news affect you?
It was kind of, you know, disbelief for the most part, and then and denial, just simple denial. You know, even though I went on, I just wasn't going to have it, you know. And so I got on. I was, you know, of course, you get very depressed at that point. But at the same time, I'm thinking this is temporary. I'm going to beat it, and I'll be okay. And so, you know, the Olympia came up, so I had my supplement companies. I went out there to work the Olympia booth. They put it, you know, I had a tube in my chest. I had them take it out before I even went to Olympia because I said, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna beat this, you know. And then no sooner I got to Olympia, I just had an episode where, you know, just I could tell I was, you know, sick. So once I got back home, they had to put the tube back in. And there was another time I told them, look, I feel like I can do this. You know, I'm doing some research. I can beat this. I want to take the tubes out again. So they took the tube out again, you know. And then after that time, of course, it didn't go well. Water retention started building up and getting sick. And after that time, I had to say, okay, well, this is it. I'm on dialysis. Even though, once again, this is when I really probably started getting very depressed, you know. And I never been on medication, but for that temporary phase, I got on some medication just for the anxiety and whatnot. And then, and once again, I was just contemplating, okay, I got my family here because I moved in with my sister at this time, my mom, and they, you know, from DC, I moved to Florida, and they were taking care of me and things like that. I said, well, you know, I can just chill right here, just let them take care of me, stay medicated, whatever. And then, you know, that went on for about 6 months, you know, and finally I just said, okay, I'm going to try to face this thing. So, and then, you know, I called Peter McGuff, you know, I said, I want to talk about this situation because no one knew at this point. 6 months, no one knew, you know, except for my close friends. You know, you couldn't get out on social media like now, but so no one knew. And so Peter McGuff contacted me. We were always close. And then I said, you know, he said, okay, let's do an article on you. And he paid me and everything. And just to help, because he knew I was going through a situation. And then, and so I did the article, and that was kind of like a come out to say, I'm going to fight it head on. And I'm going to, you know, get out there, put it in public, and then I'm going to deal with it in a different way. It was either going to sink or I was going to swim and see what the next steps was leading me. And once I decided to fight it head on, you know, it was a lot of trials and tribulations after that still, but, you know, just you name it, so many like deathbeds after that. But either way, I was facing it at that point. And then, and I just dealt with it. You know, it came out the article, the whole public knew. A lot of people, you know, wrote, you know, people offering to donate, you know, a kidney for me. I got so many offers and so many people tested and everything. Believe it or not, it was amazing. One guy, we're friends to this day. He came to my house. He really wanted to do it. It's a fan. He was just a fan. And so he lived in Georgia. I was in Florida. He came to my house. He met my family. He came down and got tested at the hospital. He unfortunately wasn't a match, but we became friends for that's been 20 something years now that we're friends because of that, you know. And then and so that was, you know, that was just a tough part. I remember Chris Ocito sent me some money at that time. I mean, that just a fun fact, so to speak. You know, out of nowhere, you know, he wrote me, you know, and we weren't even really friends because we weren't really friends. He just heard about the story and sent me money and whatnot. And every day I would get, you know, just buckets of mail from so many people. So that was inspiring. Also, I still got some of those letters today, actually. But anyway, and after that, it was just one trial after another. You know, my blood pressure was way out of control. My blood pressure when I first got sick really wasn't that bad. You know, it was probably like 149 over, over 95 or something like that, which later on and down the road, once you get on dialysis, your kidneys kind of control your blood pressure. And when they get out of whack, your blood pressure can really get out of control. So I've had some high numbers, 260 over 160 and things like that. Major headaches, had to go to the hospital to deal with that. So it was always one thing after another at that point. But I had good family around me. I had my mom, my sister, they always took care of me. Had my dog, that made a big difference. And I just dealt with life, it was just me going to the gym, eating, living with my sister. And that's about it. Doing no coaching or nothing like that, just living life. And then finally, a couple of years after that, still on dialysis, I decided I was going to try to get back out into the bodybuilding scene. So this is probably about 2001, 2002 or something like that. But I was small, you lost all this weight. So you have to kind of deal with that. And then, so I remember I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the Arnold's Classic, 195 pounds or whatever I am, 200, and I might not even been in that low at that point, but I might have been about 230 something, but it just felt small at that point because I got lower than that later on. But anyway, so at the same time, I started coming out with a Don Long Nutrition, which was a supplement line. I mean, not a supplement line, but a supplement store, online supplement store. So this was before, this was before it was 1,000 supplement online supplement companies, and it was kind of right around still Europa was out there. But so I found out quickly it was hard to compete with people like that. I still made some money, but I found like you have to be kind of big to actually really make some money. But anyway, I sold a lot of supplements out of the trunk of my car, so to speak, and online a little bit. And I did that, and it kind of got me back out in the bodybuilding scene. And then I started coaching people at the same time. I'm still just frail, small, still going to the gym, but still, then I started coaching people just off and on. People just want me to help them, not really being a coach or nothing, just helping people that I knew, and that kind of put me back into the bodybuilding scene also, and so then kind of one thing led to another, I just started, I was, like I said, I was coaching people. And then what happened was they started this new type of dialysis. I kind of missed a lot because I got a transplant a couple of years after I went on. So that happened. So that was a major ordeal too, because my sister, so it's a lot to the story. My sister donated to the list. Me and my sister, even my sister wasn't a match with me. So she donated to the list. And it was a thing in Georgetown University where if you have a family member that that wants to donate and they don't match you, they can donate to the list. And then if she gives a kidney to say whoever's at the top of the list, then you get the very next one that's available for you. So that happened. And so I got the kidney, but because it was a Godiva, it literally only lasts about a year and a half. And I really didn't know how to take care of it like I probably should. Because I was so used to, I went from drinking 3 gallons of water a day before dialysis to drinking literally 32 ounces a day. And that's all you can drink if you want to follow the rules, so to speak. And that's all I drank. So after the kidney, though, you're supposed to start drinking more. And I just wasn't used to drinking that much, So and I think that was part of the reason. But anyway, so I got that transplant, and then that failed. That was one of the toughest times too, because I almost died when that happened. Just from complications and things like that. But anyway, I got over that, and then I went back on dialysis. I never wanted to get another transplant again because it was such a horrible experience. Anyway, and then so I moved to Missouri when my sister got stationed in Missouri. So I moved with her, and I started once again just coaching people there, and then they started this new type of dialysis where it would be nocturnal dialysis, where I would do it at home. They teach you how to do it at home. So the people at the center, because I was so organized with dialysis, I knew how to work the machines already and things like that inside the center. They thought I would be the perfect candidate to do home treatments. So I gave that a shot. They trained me for it. And then so I started doing home treatments. But when I started doing that, it allowed me to eat more, drink more, and actually start getting back stronger. And so that's the point around 2005, is when that happened. About 2006, I started putting on some good weight. I started training better. And so that's when I made the decision to try to maybe come back, and once again, to come back for my own peace of mind, not really to be 100% competitive. I knew I wasn't going to win nothing, but I knew I could bring just something to say, okay, wow. Because in my mind, for 5-6 years before that, I just thought it was impossible for me to ever make a comeback. If you've seen the situations I was going through, it was just impossible for me to make a comeback, but I would have dreams about it, but I still just didn't never think it would happen. So when this happened, okay, now's my chance that, the IFBB said you can come back. But then it was a thing where they said, well, you know, we need you to get all kinds of checkups from your doctor. So I literally had to get, you name it, brain, heart, you know, you name it. So my doctors had to prove all these different things. And eventually they did. And eventually I made a comeback. And so I did that for, you know, 4 or 5, you know, about 3, 4 shows. And then I finally just stopped on my own. So I'm good now. I was able to do what I wanted to do. I'm going to finish. And that's it. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
And then through that point, you know, so taking a step back before that, before I, you know, competed, right when I lost, this is part of when I lost the transplant, I actually had a stroke at that point too. That was part of the complications that I was mentioning before. I had a stroke. So I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks with this stroke.
Wow.
And you know, literally I couldn't walk. I was probably about 195 pounds at this point. And then, and so when I go into the hospital after having a stroke, I probably was in a coma for about a couple of days. And my sister was just right by my side when I woke up. She had to feed me, you name it. The nurses had to, you know, the whole bathing thing, teach you how to walk, teach you how to speak. And they would take me into this therapy room. And that, once again, they didn't even know I was a professional bodybuilder because at that point I didn't even look like one. And so they said, well, here's how you lift this dumbbell. And then granted, I literally couldn't even lift the dumbbell. It was only 5 pounds. I couldn't even lift it. So I literally let them show me, you know, everything of how to relearn how to lift a weight again. And that was my thing, is lifting weights, but I literally couldn't lift this 5 pound weight, you know, go upstairs. And so, Ken, hold on a second. Ken, I said go upstairs. It's my son.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway,
he wants to get in.
Yeah. So it was an ordeal. I was in there for 3 weeks. It was very, you know, it was just wow, you know, just kind of going through what I had to go through. And then, but eventually, I got out of the hospital, and my mindset, I knew the best thing for me. And once again, this is before I thought about competing or anything like that. I was still on regular dialysis at this point. But anyway, so I knew the best thing I could do is get back into the gym. So I went to the gym. I went for, you know, 5 minutes, literally. I went in and just a set here, a set there, and things like that. And then the next day I went back for like 10 minutes. And this went on for about 2 or 3 weeks, where I worked my way up to 20 minutes of being in there. But it worked, you know, because I had a limp when I went in there. My right side was, I limped on this right foot. I mean, you know, the whole 9 yards, you see people limping, you know, after a stroke. That was me. I couldn't lift the right leg that much. And then, but the power of exercise literally got me back going. I mean, and so slowly the limp went away. The right side started being better. The mouse was drooping a little bit too, and all that started clearing up. I think because of the power of exercise, not just sitting around and let the stroke take control of you. I went in there and tried to just rebuild myself back up. And once I did that, I got back to normal. You know, so. And then, and that was just one, you know, and then so from that point, that was just one of the phases of the hell and back. Cause you know, I did a video, you know, called To Hell and Back. And that was just part of my process of thinking what the hell was. That's just one. I mean, so many things I went through, you know, poked and pried from every hole you can think of 10 times over. And just, you know, the hospital visits after hospital visits. It's a lot that goes in that people don't see behind the scenes of a person that's probably on dialysis. It's not just peaches and cream, put it that way. It's not just, or you go to a thing. There's so many complications that happen because of it, you know, because you're not normal anymore at all. The machine is the only thing that literally keeps you alive, you know. And when you have episodes of whatever that may happen, you know, you're in the hospital for who knows how long because of it, you know. So it's a lot of things that go into it, you know. But yeah, so, you know, but like I said, I just, you know, had good family. That's the only thing I can think of, is having positive influences around me, and getting myself back into the fitness world was a big help also, you know. And then once again, around that 2006, I decided to compete again. And then things, you know, started good. I started coaching more. And then I met my wife, of course. And then in about 2007, I met her. And that was a blessing, because, you know, I went probably 8 years, you know, without a real girlfriend at all, you know. And not that I probably couldn't get one, but I was very particular at this point of, you know, because I was a ladies' man from back in the day. So it's no more just having a girl. I needed a real, you know, someone that I know was real at this point. And so, and I kind of prayed, you know, I prayed to God, like, you know, send me an angel. This is when that song was out. Send me an angel. Send me something that's supposed to be for me. And then she came along, you know, and then, and so that was about 2007. And we started coaching together and things like that. And then So around 2010, I was still on dialysis. Like I said, I never wanted to get a transplant again, but we went to Mayo Clinic because we were living in Jacksonville at this time, Jacksonville, Florida, and the Mayo Clinic's there. So we went there just to get back on the list in case some new technology may come along. So I wouldn't plan on it no time soon, but I at least want to be on the list because it's a 3, 4, 5 year wait for a transplant anyway. But she went with me for the visit. And after she heard them say that, a living transplant is much better than a cadaver transplant, and then so she got to thinking, and I said, no, I don't want no one else to donate, blah, blah, blah. And then what she did is went to Walgreens, did a blood test to see where her blood type was because she didn't know. And then she was the same blood type as I was, but of course it doesn't really stop there because you have to match on 3 different levels of antigens. So the blood type really makes no difference. It's the antigens that really make a difference. So, and she said, look, I want to do this. I want to give you a kidney. I want to donate a kidney to you, And I said, look, and also after thinking it over and talking it over, we decided, okay, let's do it, because she wanted me to have a better life, and then because, she was the one putting me on the machine. We traveled with this machine everywhere we went. She would have to put me on. She was my nurse pretty much. She would have to put me on, take me off, even though I could do it myself, but she was my partner. And then we just she wanted a little more freedom for us at that point, And then, so anyway, we contacted Mayo and asked them could they test her for the antigens, and they said, sure, we'll put her through the whole process. First thing she had to do is get her whole body worked up, meaning you cannot have anything wrong with you before you donate. So you have to be totally healthy, or they just say, no, you can't do it. So she went through the whole process, and during that, they test the antigens, and you have to wait. We probably waited about 3 weeks or a month to hear back from them. And we got the call. We were in the bedroom, we were just chilling. And also we got the call and they said, we got some good news for you. She's a match, and then, yeah.
Oh, the odds.
Awesome.
And then what are the odds? Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Because keep in mind, because of the blood transfusions that I had and things like that before in the past, and a transplant previous, only 3% of the population would match me ever. So that's why my wait will be even longer.
And Don, it sound like God answered your prayers and sent you.
Yeah, he did.
Not only an angel, but he carried you on to better life.
Yeah, the perfect.
So
match.
Don, I mean that's unbelievable. So now, Ron, you see why I had to have Don on the show.
Yeah. I did not know the extent of the story. This is.
Yeah.
I don't think. Have you ever said that she was only a 3%? The odds were only like a 3% match. I've never heard that.
I have said it in a lot of places, but maybe not in writing or something. I don't know, But yeah, and in fact, I probably said it in writing too. But yeah, we definitely that was a big deal. Because keep in mind, none of my family members was a match. My sister wasn't a match, And here comes and keep in mind, normally you're gonna get one from your same race, Even though I'm part white, also, but normally you will get one from your same race. And then and chances of getting one from, say, opposite race, it becomes even more rare, And then for her to match, it was just the hospital was dumbfounded. We were crying, of course, when we got the news. And then on top of it, she has big kidneys, which is a good thing. She had big kidneys, which is perfect for a man of my size, of course.
Wow.
And the hospital was impressed with that. And then and so it all went great, So yeah,
that's a beautiful story.
Yeah. And so that's been 10 years ago, going on 11 years ago.
Don, I'm curious, were you able to, sorry, Kevin, were you able to you seem like you put a lot more of your mass back on, not all of it, because there's no reason to.
Yeah.
Were you able to accumulate more of that tissue back? Were you able to regain a lot of it after you got?
Yeah. I put a great deal of the mass on while I was on dialysis, because at that point I could take a few more supplements because there was no kidney to lose. And so when I competed, I still competed probably around 240, 45 pounds, which, that was still, I would say, small, because I probably would have been more like 275 in my, because I got up to 310 pounds and my competition weight would have been, 370, 270, I mean. So 240, was kind of back to where I was at my national days. And then, and of course, it wasn't the same body. It was a body that had built up from nothing back to 240 something, which still was good. It was good enough to place in the middle of the pack. I never placed last. Out of all the 4 shows I did, I was always right in the middle. Out of about 30 guys, I was probably like 15, 16, stuff like that, you know.
The last thing I want to say about that, Don, is this proves to me that we really never did see your full potential, because
not at all.
You were a light heavy in 92. Like I said, you went from 194 to what were your pro debut? 250, you said?
252, yeah.
252, and that was 3 years.
Yeah.
You were still very much in the zone of making progress before you got sick. I think ultimately, what do you think you probably would have been about 270, 275?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because coming into the Arnold's, 1 year, this is when I dieted down. I did one Arnold's coming down from 310, but at the same time, once again, this is when my body probably wasn't, you know, once again, I looked great at the gym coming into the show. The prep was all normal, but it's just the last few days, granted, I look good in photo shoots afterwards, but you have to be perfect on stage. So, you know, it just never was able to show it at showtime, you know. I mean, I was when, you know, I was 310 before Ronnie got up to the 300 mark. I remember running into Ronnie, and he was about 285. I said, man, how you get so big? You know, because I worked with Chad before Ronnie worked with Chad, you know.
Wow.
And then so then he went to Chad right after that, you know, and of course then he got over the 3 something. But so yeah, wow. I don't think I ever. The best people saw me was the night of the champions. I never had a good look after that, other than my off seasons. Now my off seasons, I probably looked more phenomenal than any bodybuilder, you know, well, most at the time. So because I always had great off seasons, but at contest time I was never able to show it after 96, you know. And so little did I know, just some things weren't working, you know, 100%, because I could never dry out like I used to, you know. So it never did land like I wanted to after that, you know. So yeah.
There's not a doubt in my mind. Healthy Don Long definitely would have won it. Every show that me, Sean, Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, I mean, you had Ironmans, Arnold Classics, and everything underneath your title, you know.
Yeah.
You were there coming on hard.
Yeah.
Hard. Unbelievable story though, huh, Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad that, you know, you're still a vital part. But we've had people that have had not exactly similar stories, but health issues, and they just dropped off the face of this industry anyway. You know, Tom Prince comes to mind. Another one it's a similar path. Another one who could have been so good.
Yeah,
he would have been right up there too. But
because you know, I won my pro card over Tom Prince. He was second behind me. Yeah,
back in those days, top 2 didn't turn pro. Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a pro. He literally was a pro when he played second like that. I mean, you know, you saw him. He was phenomenal at placing second. That was his first nationals too. You know, that was his very first national. He was phenomenal right out the gate. You know, too. So
I just want to ask with the coaching. I have heard people that, you know, a lot of people they retire from competing and they feel sort of lost, but the ones who seem to struggle the least with that are the ones who turn their attention into helping others achieve greatness, taking others and molding them into what they, you know, what they're giving them, they're making their dreams come true as long as they're willing to do the work. Have you found that type of satisfaction yourself?
That was definitely huge, because once again, I turned into I was a top coach. You know, I don't coach anymore, but I was a top coach. I produced a lot of great athletes, and I was good at what I did, you know. So, and it was very rewarding, you know, from the amateurs, from people doing their first show. We won a lot of shows, and it was always rewarding to see people, once again, achieving their goals and dreams. And the ones that really, you run into a few that had the same mindset as I had, you know, and you try to give everybody that, but it's just, once again, everybody can't latch on to that. But I would run into a few that had exactly what I had. And those are the ones that really, really excite you. But yeah, so coaching was huge, you know, playing a part of just, you know, it turned into a great business also, because I made a good living off of it. And me and my wife both, we coached females and males. And so that turned into a great business, you know, and then, so that was good, you know, up until a certain point.
Ron, you know what I love about Don? He's always just so like, he's just so joyful and so thankful and so happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like he's not playing a victim. Not once is he's telling us this amazing, like, how he just overcome all these things, and not once has he complained.
You know what? I've run into similar situations with people who came so close to death and went through so much physically with, you know, whether it's kidneys or their heart or whatever they had to get, cancer, whatever. I think you come out of that, and I can't speak from experience, but you come out of it a different person. And Don's one of the ones that comes out a better person with just a deeper appreciation for everything.
Just such a solid human being, and just no quit, no give up. Like you just propelled forward, man. Before I go to, you know, what you and your wife and the family and everything, the great stuff that you guys have on going on nowadays. And as far as your business, by the way, I love the meals. It's awesome. Tell me about like, just what kept you up, man? Tell me about that relationship. Did this draw you closer to God? Or were you wanting, what is God doing? And, I mean, obviously, you prayed and he answered your prayers.
Yeah.
With your wife. So tell me about that. You have a strong relationship with the Lord, John?
And I think, so how I grew up, of course, in church, or my grandma would take us to church. I didn't really like church. So I went to church. And then, but I always knew God, so to speak. I grew up knowing God. And then there came a time of life where, not that I didn't believe in God, I needed answers, I needed answers. And then be times where, okay, I knew this God, so I would pray and stuff like that. But I really didn't have a good connection because somehow it came to a point at some point, this is even after the transfer. And my sister was like, you mean you got all this, and you still don't. So yeah, and she knew I would never say there isn't a God. I always said I needed that walk on water moment. I needed something to solidify, to say, okay, I'm here, because otherwise, my wiseness doesn't allow me just to go with the flow because people say it is, so I just I can't be fake. I can't say, oh yeah, I believe it when I really don't necessarily, not that someone cannot believe, but I'm not sure. How did all these, I want answers to this, and this, and then, so this is not until 17, this is after all this stuff. And I just never had that strong relationship at this point for all these years, since I was young with God. And then, but it came a time where my mom, she was living in Florida. I'm living in Jacksonville. She lives in like Fort Walton Beach. And then I get a call saying, your mom's had a massive heart attack. It's not looking good. You need to get out. And once again, I wasn't ready to lose my mom right then. I'll be honest. It was just all of a sudden, because literally she was just planning on coming up to visit us that weekend, and then, and she was just in the hospital because she was in the hospital already because she had, I guess she had like something they had to do. It was just something mild, like a mild cold or something they were dealing with anyway. And then next thing you know, I get the call and saying, you need to come down here. So I had to rush to Fort Walton Beach. It was about 4 hours away. And and I got down there, and the doctors, it was a doctor there. He was actually a bodybuilding fan because his niece was Nicole Negrani, yeah, exactly.
Fitness
and
Olympia
so,
champ. Yeah.
so she was a bikini champ. Yeah.
Bikini Olympia
And
champ.
so, yeah. And so he said, look, I'm going to be straight up with you. She's got 10% chance of living. Her organs are failing. She's on life support at this point, because she was gone too long. She was gone for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. They try to resuscitate her, blood in the lungs, you name it. And she just gone too long. So saying if she does come back, she's going to be brain dead. And so, so I'm probably get teared up a little bit, but this is the point I said, okay, here it is, God. My son need to see, his grandma. He's only 1 year old, one and a half at this time. So he hadn't really seen her, not like that. She hadn't seen him like that. She's seen him, but they didn't, she didn't get to talk to him, voice and stuff like that. And so now he's a little older because it's been a year since she's been up to see him, so he's probably about 2 at this point, and then I said, this is it. This is what I need, and then, and so, the doctors, they came in. So, we're still going to try and everything, blah, blah, blah. And so we had these experienced nurses. And it's a rinky-dink hospital, actually. And we was like, okay, I wish she can go to a better hospital, blah, blah, blah. But it was, so she's here. Let's, so they had the top nurses in there, this older nurses. And they were just working these machines, moving this medicine, because it was a manipulation thing. You can't get her too cold. You can't get her too hot. And you got to manipulate this medicine. Her heart may drop if you manipulate. And so there's so many things going on. And then they were working it, though. They were slowly just creeping back up to where she's a little bit better, 5% better. And then at nighttime, this is all happened during one day. And this nighttime, this young nurse comes in. We like, these other people were doing so good. They did it for like a day. And this other nurse came in on the next shift or whatever. And she was like, she looked like she was about 25 or something like that. She might have been older, but she looked like 25. She said, oh, it's over now. Because this girl, I know she don't know what she's doing. And this girl said, she said, I'm going to bring your mom back, and we were like, okay, do it. And then long story short, she started really just manipulating, just because she was a charge nurse, but she just looked young. And she started manipulating, moving this, moving that. And then the next day, the doctor said, she's back. Your mom is back. Okay. We don't know how long, but right now she's coming back strong. Her kidneys are getting better. This is getting better. And so that was the moment, you know. That's why I said, okay, and you did it. And so for about 8-9 months, you know, anyway, she recovered. You know, long story short,
Wow.
she recovered. And so for about 8-9 months, we brought her to live with us, and she got to see. I got videos. She got to dance with my son. You know, play with him, whole 9 yards. Let me try to end this call. Hold on for 1 second.
Kevin, you weren't kidding.
No.
These are some.
Am I here? And so, yeah. So she came around big time, and we were just so rejoiced. And then and she lived with us. You know, I had a nice home. We had a nurse come in the whole 9 yards, take care of her. But she was walking. We would take her walks around the block. She could dance. You know, she loved to dance anyway. So she put music. She was dancing. So it went on for about 9 months until, you know, it came to the end. But he knows today who she is now, and of course, she really got to see him. Right. Keep in mind that that's her only grandson. My brothers and sisters never had kids. She always wanted a grandchild, you know. And this is I'm 49 when I had him, so I'm 50, about 51 at the time when she got to see him. I mean, well, play with him like that. So she waited 49 years to have a grandchild, you know.
Wow.
And so it was so happy. Once again, she got so many videos of him laying in the bed with her. He loves her, Mamo. And then so that was my moment. So she got to see me get baptized. We had a pool. I had a pool in my yard in Florida. And then we got baptized, me and him together right there in the pool. And it's been, ever since then, it's been just close to God, you know, the whole 9 yards, you know. So, yeah.
Wow.
Amen. Amen. What a testimony.
Yeah, so
what
that
a
was
testimony, right, Ron?
Yeah. Don, I'm curious, does your son remember her at all? Or was he too small?
Still remember. All you got to say her name. He knows exactly. You know, now I think we have to, if you tell him, you know, you show him a picture, he knows right away who she is. So, you know, he knows a picture right away. Yeah. If you ask him things about her now, because he's 5 now, he's not going to know every single detail. But if you put a picture in front of his face, he knows exactly who it is, you know.
Wow.
And so we try to keep that too, you know. We try to keep pictures around so he can see her. He always knows her name. And then, of course, he remembers, you know, he don't really sometimes remember himself in some of the videos, but he remembers her face and things like that. So it's good, you know.
What a story. Yeah. What a great story.
Yeah. He definitely wouldn't have seen her face. Well, he wouldn't have remembered her because he saw her when she was 1. She came up when he was born. Yeah. And then she'd come up for, you know, she would just see him on video or something like that after that. And then, but then when she came back up to live with us, he really got to play with him and the whole 9 yards, you know. So,
wow.
Yeah. My mom's, you know, kind of, she can act just like a kid sometimes, as far as she can right down the level and play with it. Yeah.
But that's so great. 9 months that she was not really supposed to have.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I have to let that sink in, man. Don, thank you for that life story and testimony. It's unbelievable. You're an amazing human being, man. And I know sometimes when you were going through these things, it's like, you know, it's hard to see God in the middle of a storm. You know, he doesn't quite look like you expect him to look like. And I know you said, you know, you would sometimes look for him and want these answers, and you just didn't see him. But I think through all this, you know, that definitely now, you know, he was there through it all, you know, and led you on this path where you are now. And let's talk about, you know, the man that you've become today and the family man. And, you know, God brought you your angel, you know, your wife, and you guys started a long life meal prep, you know, on this journey. And tell us about how that got started, Don. And, you know, you're providing these meals around the whole United States. I take the meals. Ron, these meals are delicious. But Don, you've certainly taken off in this direction, and you certainly own it. Tell us a little bit about the birth of Long Life Meal Prep.
Yeah. So you know, my wife, you know, of course, we coached a lot of people, you know, we coached a lot of athletes locally and, of course, across the nation. But some of the local athletes, they, you know, they knew, you know, especially some of our friends, they would taste my food and they knew she could cook very good, you know, even though she didn't do a lot of cooking for people. For a few people, especially say in the peak week, she would prepare their food, and of course it would taste like excellent. You know, even though it was peak week food, because she's an athlete, she knows we coach people, we know exactly how it needs to be. So she would prep food for people, and then she would take on the most she would take on is maybe 5 or 6 people and prep their food for them. And sometimes it would be the whole off season, sometimes it would just be peak weeks and things like that. But either way, she was good at prepping food. Once again, apart from being a coach, apart from just knowing how to cook, and then and making it taste healthy. And she knew she can make it healthy, but also taste good. And so so we were coaching, and then I don't want to go into the other situation that we had to let coaching go, but you know, some of the fans may know, and I'm sure Ron knows.
Nah, you don't have to go. Let's just talk about the meals.
Yeah. And so that the situation that we had led us to say, okay, we need to start this maybe for a full-time business. So we moved up to North Carolina. I knew some people up here, some, you know, bodybuilders, and I knew a top trainer, this Martinez Hages. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but his name is Martinez Hages. He lives here in North Carolina where we live. My sister was already living up here also. And so we wanted my son to be closer to her. And so we moved, we sold our house in Florida, and then we bought another house up here in North Carolina. And we said, okay, let's try to turn this into a full-time business. She was already prepping a lot, like I said, about 5 or 6 people meals, and still probably like, you know, 30, 40, 50 meals, you know, a week, so to speak, you know, for these people, you know. And then, and so he sent us about 10 clients of his, you know. And then, and so one thing kind of led to another. And of course, once they taste our food, they loved it. You know, of course, they, oh, okay, wow, this stuff tastes good and it's healthy, and you got it just like I need it. And so next thing you know, she's making probably 200 or 300 meals, you know, out of these 10 people, whatever. And then 10 people turn into 20. And then, you know, we thought maybe we were doing it out of the home, which you're not really supposed to do it out of your home, but anyway, we were doing it out of the home. So, and she called her brother down. He's a good cook also, and he's very handy at everything. He's a very jack of all trades, you know, mechanic, you name it, but he can also cook. And so we brought him down, and then it was a team effort at that point to where they both did all the cooking, blah, blah, blah. And then once again, but we couldn't market it very well because you know, we didn't have a location per se. And so after about, you know, 8-9 months of that, we got a location, we got a restaurant. And then once we were able to kind of put it out there on social media and things, then we started getting even more business. We got Dexter. We sent him his meals to the Arnold's Classics. That was one of the kind of the come out things we did. We had Dexter, and we shipped all his meals to the Arnold's Classics. And then and that kind of started taking off. And then so more local people started coming, more shipping people started coming. And then one thing led to another. So we have a team effort, you know, Sarah, Josh, and myself. We all have our unique jobs that we take care of. Josh is kind of runs and handles all the kitchen area. We have another building. We have 2 buildings. One is the shipping and customer service where people pick up their meals, and one is a kitchen where all the prep food is being prepped. And we didn't start off like we started with just a kitchen, and we graduated, you know, to the second building not long ago in December. And then and so we have a shipping department, customer service. Josh handles that. Sarah handles that. I handle a lot of the marketing and social, you know, social with social media, of course, and also with vendor locations. I get new vendor locations for us and things like that, and I handle the shipping department. And so we all have a niche, and we come together. We build a great product, and we put it out there, and so it's going very well right now. You know, so
it started off at 20 or 30 meals a week. What is it up? What's it up to now?
Now we're about 5,000 meals a week. Yeah.
Nice. Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah. So that's all,
including my 15.
Yeah, we send Kevin his, and so that's all within since 2018. So you know, less than 3 years. You know, so
Kevin, what's your favorite?
2018.
Your favorite meal from Long Life Meals? What is it?
Oh, Don will tell you that. I've been eating those things now for probably the last 2 months, Don? 3 months? The same thing, peanut. Yeah.
I think we just switched Kevin to some wraps.
Yeah,
this week, but
it just showed up today too.
Yeah. But
my barbecue my barbecue chicken wrap showed up today.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he was for the longest. He was eating the Thai peanut shredded chicken. You know.
That sounds good. Thai peanut shredded chicken.
Yeah,
I
but we
sent
have
you
a
a text the
variety.
other
Kevin,
day.
Kevin still keeps it kind of simple, but
Yeah.
we have a variety on the menu every week. You know, and then people have a lot to choose from. So yeah, so it's going good. And so we just constantly trying to, we have healthy protein snacks, wraps, breakfast items, vegan, keto friendly, you name it, we do it. Plus, because we're athletes, we can make a diet, a program of how an athlete needs it. If an athlete wants it this way, they're going to get it exactly like that, because we know how important it is. So, so we custom a lot of stuff for a lot of people also. So however they want it, we can do it. If it's not on the menu, we can make it happen. So being a family-owned business, we can kind of do whatever we want. Nothing's just really standard. If you need it, we're going to make it happen. You may pay a tad extra, but we'll make it happen.
Where did people find you guys on the web and on social media?
Yeah, so Long Life Meal Prep on Instagram and Facebook, and then longlifemealprep.com on the website. And what we will do is, whenever this airs, the day this airs, for 24 hours, we're going to give 20% off to all shipping customers. 20% off, and they just use Levrone 20, and then they'll get 20% off. So kind of make a note of that. Levrone 20, use that code, you get 20% off your entire order, and we'll ship it right to you.
So this is going to air Monday, April 26th, 9:15. So guys, you only have until 9:15 tomorrow morning. Use that code.
Yeah, exactly.
Levrone 20.
Yeah. Use that code, and we'll take care of you. So
Awesome. Well, Ron, I think that's a wrap with the incredible Don Long. And Don, I want to thank you for coming on the 10th episode of MD's Levrone Report. Guys, folks, you've heard it. Long Life Meal Prep. If you guys are out there prepping in your office and it's just too much for you to cook all the time, like me, I'm on the road with my son constantly at football games and football and school and driving up and down the road. I don't have time to cook. So if you out there, you don't have time to cook, definitely check out Long Life Meal Prep, and they will definitely serve you anywhere in the United States, right, Don?
For sure. We ship everywhere, anywhere. With Alaska, Hawaii, we've shipped there already. So you name it, we'll get it there. We get to California in one day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for sharing all that, Don. I've never heard the whole story about your sickness and how you got through it. I read an article probably 20 years ago, and this is so much more to it since then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Blows it away, man. Definitely. All right, guys, that's it. Kevin
And Ron, real quick, Ron,
Yeah.
text me your address and we'll get you a box out there too. Okay. Just text me your address and we'll get you a box out. Okay.
Oh, I will.
Okay. Yeah.
That's right. We got to get you on board, Ron.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys, that's the wrap for MD's Levrone Report. I'm Kevin Levrone with my co-host, Ron Harris, and our special guest, Don Long. We're out of here. Peace.
All right, thanks
and
a
one
lot,
love.
guys. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.
Mhm.